Still on NC Continental Prime, Nigeria plans to spend 26.01 trillion naira for the 2024 budget and will assume an oil price of $73.96 for its expenditures at an exchange rate of 700 naira per dollar. The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, made this known on Monday, saying that Nigeria will target oil production of 1.78 million barrels per day under the 2024 spending plan. He also added that the government will set aside 8.25 trillion naira for debt service and 7.78 trillion naira to cover salaries and pension for civil servants. Now, Bagudu said the economy is expected to grow at a rate of 3.76% next year, with inflation currently at a 20-year high of 27.72%, moderating at 21% next year. Now, to join me to discuss this further, I'm now being joined by Mukhtar Mohammed, the CEO, Ashiru Dynamic Solution. Thank you so much, Mukhtar, for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
It's interesting because we have had this conversation before now, and I know your stance to some extent, but talking about the assumption of an oil price of $73.96 per barrel in a budget and, the potential consequences, how realistic would you say that it is to have that assumption? And how would you say it will affect the economy if the actual prices deviate significantly?
Well, the good thing is that I think they are being proactive, they are being conservative with the oil price. If you get what the price is at the moment, the price is almost selling above $90 per barrel. So for them, putting it at $73.9 per barrel, I think is a good move. It's a conservative move. I don't think in 2024 we might get oil price below that mark if it actually goes down. Remember that OPEC nation are planning to cut supply to reduce their quota. It's only a country like Nigeria that might enjoy higher quota because they were not able to meet up their quota before now. So definitely, I think that's, for me, that's a very good point they are doing in the budget for the first time. I think it's nice.
Right. And what would you say the potential impact Nigeria's planned expenditure of 26.01 trillion naira, which is an equivalent, of course, of $34 billion for the 2024 budget, have on the country's overall economic stability?
Well, if you are looking at your reserve that is less than $34 billion and your budget is $34 billion, then you know the answer is as good as mine. That means we'll still have to borrow to make sure we meet up with our budgetary demands. But again, hopefully the reserve will grow. Hopefully we'll see some activities in the economy before the end of this year. Hopefully we'll be able to tackle inflation in the first quarter of next year. Definitely not this year because we are struggling with that FX volatility. So if you look at that, and based on their projection of 3.76, it's very ambitious. If World Bank is even looking at 2.9, and we are looking at 3.76, I think that is very, very ambitious for us to meet. So when you look at that capital expenditure, recurrent expenditure, debt services, that means you can't but look away that there will be borrowing, a lot of borrowing this time around. But hopefully the borrowing will be tied to specific projects, which will not just be tied to GDP, like what happened during the Buhari administration. It will be tied to revenue. For me, if we do that, then we'll be out of the wood very soon. But if we continue to tie that borrowing to GDP, it will be a repeat of the cycle we have during the Buhari administration.
So, Mukhtar, in light of Nigeria's historical dependence on oil revenue, which of course is expected, how diversified would you say the budget is in terms of revenue sources, and what measures are in place to mitigate the risks that will be associated with oil price volatility in the future?
I think there's no any risks. There's no any measures we have been put in place on that. I say something. It's just like you are working where you are working now. It's what you earn from there that then you diversify to generate other means of income. So as it stands now, we still need to depend on oil because it still remains one of our easiest means of income because in other aspect of income that you're expecting in the non-oil sector, you need to do a lot of investment in terms of infrastructure. And we are not there yet, and we are not thinking of it anytime soon. So definitely as it stands now, our major source of revenue still remain the crude oil imports and exports. And I think, again, NNPC have added a new dimension to it that before the end of this year, we'll start exporting refined petroleum products outside the shop. It's going to earn more revenue. So that could also be a game changer. But I still think that oil still remains a major source. From there, we can begin to diversify. But the problem I have with diversification when it comes to Nigeria, we play lip service to diversification. We only think of diversification when oil prices are down. Once there is a recovery, we forget about all the noise about diversification. And sometimes when we want to diversify, we diversify to almost everything. Want to be the large in rice production, want to be the best that have the cocoa. Every agricultural household product want to be the best in the world. But we need to look at our competitive advantage when we are diversifying. And that is one thing that we've not really looked at thus far.
CEO Ashir Dynamic Solutions, Mukhtar Mohammed, thank you so much for joining us on NC Continental Prime.
My pleasure. Thank you.